Thank you for staying. My name is Benjamin Akakbo. Thank you for staying with me as I serve you my blunt thoughts this morning. And I've titled it, Blowing Cash in a Desperately Stifling Economy. The Elite versus the Ordinary Man. Blowing cash in a desperately stifling economy. The elite versus the ordinary man. Or if you like, the coffee broke man. Yeah. So this morning, there's a lot to digest. I'm going to be talking about three crucial issues and how those with money are getting more money and those down there are getting even worse off. Just this morning when I had that interaction with political scientist Dr. Richard Amwakoba, himself a doyen, a stalwart of the MPP who now feels things have gone out of shape. He said something. I hope we don't get there, and I am assuming we just might not get there. But he said, famine is coming. Hunger is coming. What is the cost of plantain? What is the cost of cassava? In the midst of all of that, we are in the grips of an IMF-supported program, right? But it would interest you to know that when you pick the top 10 countries that owe the most credit to the IMF, the most indebtedness to the IMF, there are 5 African countries in the top 10, though that top 10 list is led by Argentina. But there are 5 African countries in there. And if you look at how much is owed, and you make the comparisons, bigger countries compared to Ghana. You look at Egypt, highest in Africa. Then you go to Angola. Then you go to Kenya. And then Ghana is 4th on that list. Not in terms of the top 10 ranking, but in terms of our indebtedness from the African perspective. And then you add Cote d'Ivoire. We are not, to quote the words of President Akufo-Addo back then, in normal times. We are not. But are we acting it out? Are we showing that we are not in normal times? The ordinary man is suffering. And yet, come with me, some people are chilling. So, you look at the Bank of Ghana, and recently we've had cause to focus our microscopes, our lenses on them. Why? For a number of years, there has been something interesting going on. In 2016, the number of staff, 1,921. In 2022, it had shot up to 2,215. Not too much to talk about, but the devil is in the detail. Next slide. Now, if you look at the cost of the personnel between 2017 and 2022, in Yanum, we're looking at 6 billion Ghana cedis. Do you know what that means? That means if you're going to use a dollar pegged at even 10 cedis. I know it is 15 and inching further now. You'd be looking at what? Just about how much? 600 million or $60 million? Thereabouts. It's crazy. But let's go to the next slide because there could be justification, right? Let's find out from the chart. Incrementally, if you look at data from the Bank of Ghana itself, in 2017, we were spending 596.2 million on personnel in terms of the cost trend. It shot up by about 100 million in 2018, 697. In 2019, it went even further, 808, 2021 billion. And since then, we've never looked back. If you look at the difference, 596, so let's round it off at 600 million to 1.6 billion. It means we've added north of 1 billion Ghana cedis in terms of the perks, the benefits that the personnel get. The same staff, by the way, that led us into that 60 billion Ghana cedi hole that we find ourselves in currently, out of which we're all suffering the brunt of it because it also feeds into the IMF program. But let's go to our next slide. Then you look at the breakdown, and this is where you begin to see certain patterns because the total staff, 2,203. Now, if you look at the Bank of England, and that's the comparative, it makes for stark reading. The total staff at the Bank of Ghana are 2,203 per the figures we're using, and that is 2022. At the Bank of England, they had more than twice that number, 4,675. By the way, developing country, developed country. I've always had a problem with those terms because sometimes No country ceases development. But yes, these are economic terms and we use them. But if you look at the staff costs, you're looking at 1.62 billion Ghana cedis for staff, personnel of the Bank of Ghana. And if you're looking at the Bank of England, it is 448 million pounds. But that's not where the devil is. When you look at the cost per employee, that is where certain things begin to look stark. 735,360 Ghana cedis on average for the staff at the Bank of Ghana per staff. Almost what? 300,000 shy of 1 million Ghana cedis. How long will it take you to earn that? At the Bank of England, 95,829 pounds, almost 100,000 pounds. If you did the comparative, right, 95,000 pounds, even if you're multiplying by 17, how much would that give you? If it's 100, let's say if it's 100, that will be 1.7 million. That means just about over 2 times, and that's what you get here. The times of GDP per capita, though, when it comes to the Bank of Ghana, let's start with the Bank of England. In terms of the GDP per capita, you know what that means, right? They are earning a mere 2.6 times more than the average person would in England. 2.6 times. About 3 times. Let's even peg it at that. Makes sense, right? In our case, how many more times our GDP per capita? What even the average person would earn? 38 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 38 times. This is not to denigrate the work of the central bank or the people who work there. I know people there. I have friends there. But the question is, are these justifiable? Especially in our economic situation. And if a clutch of people can get so much and the rest of people live in penury, that is where you begin to think about what Dr. Richard Amwakoba said, that there could be famine and there could be hunger. Can you afford the plantain, the cassava on the market now, the rice, the beans? So some people are living well, others not so much. Just situating the conversation. But from there, let's move on. Next slide. There's also the bit about tourists, because companies have upped and left Ghana. We're talking about the cost of living, the elite versus the ordinary man. But let's situate the conversation as well in the perspective of tourism, right? In the year 2022, the number of tourists visiting Ghana totaled 825,000. Thankfully, by 2023, we were looking at 1.1 million, almost an increment of about 300,000. Great, right? But let's go to the next slide. When you look at the trend, then you begin asking, but what are some of the motivations for tourists? Cost is one of them, but where do we find ourselves? If you look at some recent statistics, and I'm talking about the 2023 Ghana Tourism Report, those who have come to Ghana and said, Ghana is expensive. I have tourists come. I've had people come from different parts, US, UK, and they say, hey, how do you guys survive in Ghana? The place is expensive. 7.85% say Ghana is very expensive. Those who say it is expensive, 36.13%. Some Nigerians come here. And in fact, last year I was in Lagos. Trust me, what I could do with how many thousand naira, I can't do maybe half of that in Ghana. I was in Lome at some point last year. You look at the cost of living, compare it to us, and indeed we are expensive. So those who said it was less expensive, 15%. Of course, from some jurisdictions outside the continent of Africa, it may be cool, even in Africa, in some jurisdictions. But those who said it was not expensive, 18%. Next slide. If you look at the breakdown, Nigerians, Ghanaians, British, and Americans, red represents expensive, yellow, normal, the gray, less expensive, and green, not expensive. So it's green you're looking for, right? But if you look at the metrics, you'll find that Nigerians, how many are saying Ghana is not expensive? 5.56%. Ghanaians, how many are saying Ghana is not expensive? 9.09%. You could even say that is the elite, or maybe the middle class in there. British, 8.89% are saying Ghana is not expensive. That should tell you something. America, 8.42%. You look at these metrics, even if you sum them up, 8, so let's say 9, 18, plus another 9, 27, plus even 6. That'll give you 33. Only 33% are saying. It tells you that a chunk of people are feeling the bite. Those who say Ghana is expensive, 27 plus percent Nigerians, 72 plus percent Ghanaians, 48 plus percent British, 35 plus percent Americans. And then those in the middle belts, you have 50% normal and all of that, and then the gray areas. That paints a picture for you. It tells you about the stark economic conditions. Katie Hammond, the trade minister, is now saying, oh, cement producers should reduce the prices. And they have rebuffed that. Why? What is the cost of producing cement? No one wants cement prices to go up. If they go up, construction costs go up. If you're going to purchase, it goes up. If you are putting up something, it goes up. But what are the production costs? Are we looking at that? Or just telling them, I mean, if I produce something at 3 cedis and I'm selling it for 3 cedis, 20 pesos, and you tell me to reduce it, is there any logic in that? Next slide. But then, finally, the last thing, I'm looking at cost over the table, if you like. So I've looked at the Bank of Ghana and earnings of staff. I've looked at tourism and how people feel Ghana is expensive. But let's wrap with the Ghana Publishers Association, because this is crucial. It's about the textbooks, yes, but it's also about producing some of the books that we want to read so that we become more enlightened and we become more of a reading nation. That's why I have a book show that, I would proffer for you when it starts, but I digress. How long has government owed the Ghana Publishers Association? 2.5 years. Now, which businessman, after being owed for 2.5 years, with the current economic situation where there are fluctuations, depreciation of the currency, some are forecasting that it could slip to about 20 cedis or 18 cedis to the dollar by close of year. Which businessman, after being owed for a period like this, you would have run into losses? If you took a loan to do this, your debtors will be knocking on your door. Some people may have ended up, having to do all sorts of things. Some people may have died. Some people may have committed suicide on the back of this. You owe someone for 2.5 years. And I'm not talking small money, big money. Next slide. How much is owed? 320 million Ghana cedis. And if we may look at I believe the last and final bit there, you would see that there are 2 more bits to look at. In terms of the increment in book prices, here are the justifications. The Ghana Publishers Association says, we have no option but to increase the prices of books. Starting from June, prices will go up between 30 and 40%, and I've spoken to the president on this show. We therefore seek the understanding of Ghanaians as we have to protect our businesses from collapse. No one does business to lose, even state institutions. You try to break even or make a little profit so you can keep things running. How about the businessman? And when we do this, what do we do to the publishing business in Ghana? Already, China and other countries have taken over the market. What are we doing to the local businesses, the few left? Next slide. Then, which is where I believe I'll be ending, for the ministry to proceed to commission a publisher to develop textbooks for the Common Core program when books it ordered on credit 2.5 years ago have not been paid. That is 320 million Ghana cedis. What sense is there in that? So, Indiano, the situation is dire. I was joking this morning, but it appears in this country everybody has his or her truth. I'm an old vandal, and our motto is truth stands. Truth stands. Some of you may not like what I say. I don't begrudge you, honestly. I have a very thick skin, and I can take your thoughts and, I'm okay with them. I just don't believe what you do. And I will not see what is black and say it's white, or vice versa. I will say it as it is. I said that back then. I will say it now. Abana yedebo inchino, and noan yedebo baba. The truth is one. We don't have different truths. It is only one. And without truth, believe you me, we'll make no headway in this country. Because where there's no truth, there's also chaos. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. Love me, hate me, it is what it is. Thank you for watching, and stay with us for the rest of our programming.